Hi, this is episode 4 of the Coronavirus Daily, and I am Ajay, Poonia. Living in denial is not an option, neither is living in ignorance, which is what brings me here. So, how have the first 2 days of the 21-day lockdown been? While the number of COVID-19 cases are increasing, there will be a second pandemic of mental health. People are already engulfed in a sense of dread and uncertainty. Many of us are caught in a loop of unproductive anxiety. How do we cope? The WHO recommends immunity boosting food consumption, 30 minutes of exercise for adults, and an hour for children. Just to make sure the boredom and fatigue doesn't set in, maybe plan some online parties with your friends, play a game of charades or the 90s hit, Antakshari. Divane, Parwane, Mastane, and let's not forget, Afsane. Remember? A friend told me to not give stupid suggestions here, so booyah. The date today is 26th March, Thursday, but does that even matter? Naming days just seems less functional, more academic now, doesn't it? First, the uncertain. So we now complete 2 days of lockdown nationally and some more if you talk about few states that moved early. But in this period, the confusion around what constitutes essential service prevails. But in any modern day economy, no business exists in isolation. But people like you and me do. With backward and forward linkages, all businesses directly or indirectly support essential services. Some states have worked out a home delivery plan or are allowing movements of the delivery agents. But without gloves, masks or PPEs, what are the threats that they are facing? And thus, what are they really home delivering? Add to that, migrant workers stuck in cities are either taking the long walk, yes, walk, back home while hiding from law enforcement officials, thus congregating together, or are dependent on support from government and good Samaritans, thus congregating again and creating a cluster of disease vectors. Remember, WHO estimates the infection rate for the novel coronavirus is between 2 and 2.5, meaning that every person who gets sick will infect another 2 or 3 people. At that pace, the number of people with the virus will double every 6 days. So, at this point, are we playing the herd immunity game without verifiable data? Unintentionally? It wouldn't be an overstatement to say life in India and globally is not normal. Life pre-COVID-19 will not duplicate itself in the post-COVID-19 era. There will inevitably be restrictions and surveillance of what kind and of what magnitude, only time will tell. But one business that has divided opinions will now likely think unanimously is restaurants, about deliveries and cloud kitchens. As fierce competitors, restaurant operators and aggregators come together in an attempt to keep the industry running. When one navigates from a place of scarcity, one tries to minimize suffering. And if you look up to the legislative authority to bail you out, you're leaving them to decide what they want to give you if you don't have a specific ask. But how can you have a specific ask? Are you making the timeline? No, you're not. It's the virus that's making the timeline. And now for some of the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. Well, as some of you are still doing some kind of work from home, while the rest indulge in recreation through the internet, yes, the internet exists. We currently have ways to practice social distancing that preserve at least some social connections. People in isolation or quarantine can ask for help, visit friends and family virtually. And in fact, the telecom industry had asked streaming portals to stop showing advertisements, HD content and pop-ups. The HD content not working might be a bummer, but hey, your bank website or email is running smoothly. The bad. There's a lot happening in the realm of sexual and reproductive healthcare in the midst of this pandemic. Reproductive health organizations and bodies across the globe have declared to put a halt on fertility treatment, as they are unaware of the impact of COVID-19 on embryos and pregnancy. This means that no new ovulation induction, IUI, fresh IVF, or frozen embryo transfer cycles can be started until the obvious. Although this may be upsetting for some couples who were looking to become parents, using non-traditional methods. The European Societies for Human Reproductions and Embryology have published a statement suggesting people to avoid. Okay, I'll make this a multiple choice question. A, avoid becoming pregnant. B, option A. You can answer in the comments. We've all heard companies and governments across the world saying there's plenty of food in the world, so relax. Which is true, by the way. Global warehouses are stuffed with food. But as logistics industry negotiates the shutdown amidst the pandemic, the question becomes, how do you actually get that food to people? Now, countries are putting a stop on export of various kinds of export items, like Kazakhstan on sugar, potatoes and onions, and Serbia on sunflower oil. Retaliations may lead to ramifications of a market gone crazy. The disruptions make the whole food supply chain more fragile than we think it is. As if unpredictable weather patterns and locusts now weren't already a problem. And now, the ugly. If your anxiety got triggered listening to the bad, I would request you to avoid listening anymore. Okay? So now that you're still here. This shit is hitting hard. We had 0 to 100,000 cases globally in 97 days, 200,000 cases in 12 days, reached 300,000 cases in 4 days, 400,000 cases in 3 days, and now reached a total 500,000 cases in just 2 days. If it weren't clear, this is war. In a moment of crisis, minds and plans can change quickly, so be ready. A Lifetime Achievement Award mentioned in the uglies. People with Chinese descent in America, UK or Kolkata are being spat on, attacked or are being yelled at because bigots and racism. As Donald Trump has been insistent on branding the virus Chinese virus, the Chinese Americans are facing double threats. One, from the virus itself, and two, racists. Before I go, the funnies. Or this one's more like a badass. As I said yesterday, the American Senate has arrived at a $2 trillion stimulus package, which includes direct payments, expansion of unemployment insurance, and loans for small businesses, etc., etc. But what isn't in it? The deal specifically states that businesses owned by the heads of cabinet-level agencies, members of Congress, and the president are excluded from receiving the aid. The exclusion also extends to firms controlled by their children, spouses, or in-laws. Not a dime for the Trump organization. Well, goodbye, wash your hands, and see you tomorrow.